Have you ever had one of those moments where someone says something so simple, and it just stops you in your tracks? Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it was so painfully honest that it slipped right through your guard and landed directly in your chest. That's exactly what happened with Johnny Depp. And the words? Just 6 of them. Promise me, you won't hurt me. That's it. No big stage. No press release. No dramatic background music. Just Johnny. Sitting quietly. Looking worn, maybe even a little nervous. Eyes that had seen too much. A voice that trembled just slightly. And in that moment, millions of people paused. Not because it was a trending topic, but because it felt like a mirror. Think about how many times in your life you felt the same. Maybe not in those exact words, but the feeling. That invisible ache. That quiet plea. The need to be protected, even from the people you care about. Especially from them. And now here's Johnny Depp. Hollywood icon, global superstar, putting all the fame aside, and saying what so many of us are afraid to. Please, don't hurt me. Not as a character. Not as Captain Jack Sparrow. Not as a tabloid headline. Just as himself. As Johnny. It's hard to imagine someone like him, someone who's been in the spotlight for decades, needing to say something like that, right? He's played eccentric geniuses, charming criminals, poetic misfits. He's walked red carpets, signed thousands of autographs, smiled for millions of cameras. From the outside, it looks like a dream life. But when you strip all that away, what are you left with? A man. A human being. Someone who's been misunderstood, misjudged, betrayed, and loved deeply, and sometimes all in the same week. Let's be real for a second. The past few years haven't been easy for Johnny. If you've been following the story, you know exactly what I mean. The public fallout. The accusations. The lawsuits. The media circus. The memes. The courtrooms. The endless debates. It became less about facts and more about drama. And while the world was busy taking sides, dissecting every sentence, and turning pain into entertainment, Johnny stayed mostly quiet. Can you imagine that kind of silence? Watching your name become a battleground? Watching people argue over who you are, while you're just trying to breathe? Trying to survive? And in that chaos, it wasn't the lawyers or the headlines that saved him. It was something else entirely. Something quieter. Something stronger. The fans. You probably saw them outside the courtrooms. Holding signs. Crying. Laughing. Chanting. Some had flown from different countries just to show support. Others sent letters. Posted videos. Wrote messages online. People who had never met him, but somehow, felt like they knew him. Because they'd grown up with his films. Because his characters made them feel less alone. Because his quiet presence reminded them that being different didn't mean being broken. And Johnny noticed. In interviews, in quiet moments, he said it again and again, the fans saved him. Not with money. Not with fame. But with presence. With belief. With loyalty that didn't require proof. That kind of loyalty is rare. And when you're in a place where you feel like the walls are closing in, it means everything. It's not just appreciation, it's survival. But that kind of support also makes you emotional. Because when you've been fighting your battles alone for so long, and then suddenly people show up, really show up, it cracks something open inside you. The walls you built start to fall. And what's underneath? It's raw. It's soft. It's scared. That's what we saw in that moment. When Johnny looked into the camera and said, "Promise me, you won't hurt me," it wasn't a performance. It was the sound of those walls crumbling. It was a man who'd been strong for too long, finally letting himself be honest. It's hard to explain what that feels like if you've never been there. But maybe you have. Maybe you've smiled when your heart was breaking. Maybe you've made a joke when you were secretly hurting. Maybe you've acted like everything was okay because you didn't want to be a burden. And maybe, deep down, you've whispered that same quiet sentence to someone, anyone. Please, don't hurt me. We don't talk about it enough, but emotional pain is just as real as physical pain. And when you carry it for too long, it changes you. It makes you cautious. It makes you quieter. It makes you scan people's faces for signs of danger before you open your heart again. That's why Johnny's moment was so powerful. Because it was universal. It was personal. And it was honest in a way most public figures are too scared to be. Now here's the thing. When someone says something like that, it's not always about one person. It's not always about a relationship or an event. Sometimes, it's about the world. About what it feels like to be vulnerable in a place that rewards toughness. About how exhausting it is to be soft-hearted in a sharp-edged world. And Johnny has always been a bit different. He's not your typical Hollywood guy. He's an artist in the truest sense. Someone who expresses himself through music, painting, film, someone who feels everything a little more deeply than most. That sensitivity is a gift. But it can also be a curse. Because when you feel everything, you also hurt deeply. When you're misunderstood, it cuts deeper. When you're betrayed, it shatters something sacred. And when you're loved, you hold on to it like a lifeline. That's why the fans matter so much to him. Because in a world where so many people were quick to judge, quick to laugh, quick to cancel, they stayed. They didn't just defend him. They saw him. And that's all any of us really want, right? To be seen. To be heard. To be understood. So now, after all the noise, after all the pain, Johnny is finding his way back. Slowly. Quietly. Not through blockbusters or big interviews. But through art. Through music. Through painting. Through moments that feel real and healing and human. People close to him have said he's calmer now. More at peace. That he's stopped trying to prove anything. That he's just focused on feeling good, on being present, on healing. He's not chasing fame. He's chasing stillness. And honestly, isn't that something we all long for? To not have to explain ourselves all the time. To not have to convince others of our worth. To just exist, peacefully. Authentically. That's where Johnny is now. And it's not a comeback, it's a return. A return to self. A return to softness. A return to truth. And in that truth, he's giving the rest of us permission to do the same. To stop pretending. To stop performing. To just be who we are, scars and all. So maybe, the next time you're tempted to hide your pain behind a smile, remember that even someone like Johnny Depp, someone with the world at his feet, needed to say, please, don't hurt me. And if he can say it, maybe we can too. Because it's not weakness. It's bravery. It's not giving up. It's letting go. And maybe, just maybe, it's the first step toward real healing. So if you're still here, still listening, still holding on to every word, let me ask you something. What's one thing you've been too afraid to say out loud? What's one truth inside you that's been waiting to breathe? Think about it. Let it rise. Let it be known. And if you feel safe, share it. Say it in the comments. Say it to a friend. Say it to yourself. Because you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be loved in a way that doesn't require you to shrink or pretend or perform. You just deserve to be. And that's what Johnny reminded us of. Not with a speech. Not with a movie. With a whisper. With a single, trembling line that said more than 1,000 interviews ever could. Promise me, you won't hurt me. And we hear you, Johnny. We hear you loud and clear. And to everyone out there who needed this today, we hear you too. You're not alone. You're never alone. Take a breath. Let it out. And let yourself be human again.